All right, guys. You guys want to blow up your back? Saw I blow my back up. You want a mass building back workout? Try this. You want bulging lats? You want Tyrannosaurus traps? You guys want lats like Dorian Yates with half the work and half fucking genetics? You want to figure out how to not work hard, get big? You want, this is the shortcut channel. Really pissed off today. Just kidding, I'm not. Yeah. There's just, when I train people and I see people working out or I see videos of people demonstrating shit, it's all like well and good that you're trying to help people in like what your view of what working out is, which is, that's fine. Is that gonna be good? But when it comes down to it, holy fuck this seat. What's wrong with this seat? And when it comes down to it, it's like you guys and girls that are explaining movements, explaining exercises, whatever it might be, you're missing like the foundation, like the deepest principle that's rooted in everything you do when it comes to like lifting weights to build muscle. I'm not talking about explosiveness, even though I think it correlates. Most people probably think it doesn't. I'm not going to get into that whole debate today because I don't need every fucking sports-specific explosive clown in the world coming out being like, you need to recruit fast-twitch muscle fibers. But let's say we're speaking specifically to bodybuilders and like trying to put on muscle and have good form, get technique, isolating properly. The foundation of all that relies in the concept of inertia. Like inertia is literally the most important thing about the lift. It's more important than the weight. It's more important than exercise selection. Like, of course we want to do stuff we feel so that we can figure out, we can get this feeling of this thing, this magical thing called inertia that you guys don't know about. So it's like, I want to pick exercises that work well for my body or my structure. So that's understandable, but it's just understanding that like where the weight stops. So say I'm going to do this press right now. Where the weight stops is where as far as my hands can bring it down. Like everyone agree with that? So if I take this out and I push this to a full rep and I start here, right here where I can't hold any more tension, where I feel the deepest stretch is basically where I'm going to stop. So I would push from here. But that's again the foundational mistake that everyone makes. So if I'm coming here, I'm assuming that all the weight that's here is collecting just on my palm at an extension of being out here. So I'm allowing this weight to come at me. I'm resisting on my palm. A lot of you guys are doing this where it's like I'm not collecting that weight in my body. I'm just trying to get my palms to a certain depth so I feel something happen and then I push this thing out. So understanding that pressing and that style of understanding tension is complete dog shit. That's why nothing happens for you guys, because you're in such a rush to get this hand back to wherever it should be and then get it back out to here again. Because this is just, like we talk about all the time, A to B. But it's understand when I'm pressing here, if I'm gonna do these, if a press is correct, the weight is on my hand, but I'm holding weight and pressure back in my like rear delt, let's say tricep, lat. I'm locked down in weight behind me and the bench. So I'm collecting weight. So hands are tight here, but they're just tension. I'm holding weight, but I'm collecting weight in my body. So now when I talk about this rocking off, yes, I'm pushing out from pushing handle out, but when I come back, I'm literally, if I'm at the deepest point of my press, say I'm here at my press, and this is the bottom, I literally want to feel like this bar that's on my hand is traveling back about 4 or 5 inches. So I want to feel that where that bar pushes out, if the motion stops here and my shoulders sink and they're still pushing, I want to feel like this weight that's here transfers behind almost to the depth of my elbow and then rocks forward out of my elbow. So it's almost like this collecting and then this shoving. So I want to feel like it's almost like a band. Why you guys use them, because you don't understand inertia. It's like I'm collecting here, the pressure's here, but it's transferring down my arm, so it's collecting back into my forearm. I can't get any deeper with my hand, but I'm still feeling this tension from the drop collect down my arm or into my shoulder back here, and then I'm shoving out. So the weight doesn't stop where your hands stop, and you don't push from where your hands stop. In the sense that I'm not doing like, it would be me exampling like this. Like if I'm gonna push this myself off the mirror, and I'm coming down to the mirror, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna push myself away from things like that. I'm not gonna let things absorb into me and relax and then drive off myself away. So I'm not collecting that tension in the sense that I'm not absorbing the tension in my body, lifting my chest. My hands are now stable because they're locked in my back. And I'm using that tension that's way back behind me in my elbow to rock through my hand, send me back. It's the same thing on any press. So even on a fly, this is why a lot of people fuck up cable flies. I can't do cable flies right now because my shoulder still doesn't fucking move in that direction, but we'll do one arm. Just a fucking... You're wearing a mouth guard in the gym? That's stupid level 1000 already. Okay, so you're well ahead in the scorecards. But then when you add a fucking... When you don't cut the helmet clip off, because it's a mouth guard that's meant for a football helmet or a hockey helmet or a fucking field hockey helmet, whatever the fuck, lacrosse. It's not meant to be worn with the clip on unless it's attached to something. Well, that's when you know, like, we're living in a simulation, right? Okay, Jesus. Anyway, so when people I can't get this angle with my shoulder comfortably. So when you guys see people walk out, we talked about flies before. I'm catching here and I'm throwing. Catching here and I'm throwing. So imagine I'm doing it with one arm. Both arms are doing it, but I'm demonstrating with the one hand. So if I'm here and I push, most people when they come here, they're always trying to straighten their arm and get their hand to like a locked out position where they feel like they have stability on the cord. The whole idea of this lift is to never have stability on this. I never want to control or stop this cable, because the cable pressing and where it goes isn't a concern of mine. The feel of my chest and my hands swinging around is what's creating tension in my pec, not this, right? So it's the same thing if I go back here, just like we were pressing before. Now we're open in a fly. If I do a rep and I come around here, right, and then I come back slowly here, I'm not trying to open back. I'm not trying to put my arm behind me as far as I can and throw it back around in front of me as I can. I'm trying to keep where this tension is here, where these hands slid together and pick chest up. Now it's moving out on the same line it came in on. So I'm moving out towards those machines. I just so happen to go back, but my tension is out. So it's away. When I open, it's this. If I didn't have a cable in my hand, I'm doing that. And my cable pulls me back, right? So that understanding too is that when we start here, say we get to the negative of the rep, we bring this up. Most people are gonna rush this transition. So the weight comes up here, it gets to a stretch and they go, and they throw. The idea here is when this transition gets to here, now I'm locked in my back and my spine, my rear delt and my upper back. I'm waiting here for this tension that's now traveled back here. So the tension in my hand is pushing through here, it's traveling up my arm, and I'm feeling it almost here. So the real push is coming from here when I shove. So this is the hand here, catching the weight, holding here. I feel this drop out here. It's got to send up the cord, and it's got to send back down the cord. I don't want to I'm not trying to get here and go, because this tension is still traveling up there. Just because I stopped it on my hand doesn't mean that the momentum stopped. I have to wait for the momentum to stop, and then I have to wait for that thing to slingshot back down into me because I have power again and move. So if you think about things as transferring energy on any lift you do, can be back, can be chest, we'll show back stuff too. It's just literally understanding that where the weight stops is not where the pressure stops or the tension. It does stop there. I'm not trying to be like pseudoscience, it stops here. But in your mind, feel like the weight is literally sinking in deeper. I'm wrapping around a bench more, I'm squeezing around my back more, I'm settling into my lats more, and I'm catching that weight as it comes through and I'm rocking. That's why a lot of people can't get this lift up here, because you have to wait for that tension to settle and then be able to catch it again. If I come back here and I don't let that tension settle and I'm trying to keep this sweeping around a pec feeling where I'm trying to open up on pec and I'm trying to lift up rib cage, throw around, if I don't let that weight stop, so if I get here and I go, I have to jerk, so I have to wait till that weight dies, which is foreign for all of you, and then I'm gonna get the weight again. Because for some reason people think the faster they do their reps, like we've talked about before, the more rapid fire it is. The pace isn't and stop. The pace is like like that. It's like that. It's and on some lifts it could be like and then like like it could be a different tempo, right? It's not always the same tempo and stuff. So you have to understand like the angle, whatever it is that you're doing. Like when I let out a back movement, debating what machine to show you on because we're trying to figure out what's a better angle because this gym is like a fucking warehouse of machines that you have to work yourself around. It's a good problem to have, but makes for shitty angles sometimes. But you can demonstrate this on any back machine, so it doesn't matter what I show. You could have randomly chosen this machine, this, whatever the fuck we want to show it on. It's this whole idea of inertia, or this whole idea of letting things sink in and rock back, letting tension leave you, catching tension, whipping tension back. It's the same thing here as on a press. So if I'm at the bottom of my pull here, so I've pulled up and I marched up where I should be and I'm locked down in my hands, my lats and shoulders are down, this hand's gonna drift away from me. So most people would think when it gets to here, about here, this is where I'm gonna go, because I have to like, it's gonna get too far where they perceive I can't control this anymore. And like we've talked about in a million back videos, full lengthening of let out is ideal if I can keep chest up and keep integrity in my body. Because when I'm reaching here, I'm letting my hands go. So my hands have pulled me as far as I can go. Now there's a cradling where it's like my body moved and my shoulder relaxed. And now I can move through body and catch that tension. So if I don't let that tension come to a stop where it's maximally out and there's no more tension going down other than me putting the weight down, then I can move. But if I start shortening this when things get heavy and I start doing this, you can see my let out gets longer and my transition of pulling goes like this. So I'm not letting this handle drift about 3 inches further than my hand actually is. I feel the tension go further and then I slide out. So I'm waiting for this tension that's in my hand to drift farther, and I almost whip back out of it and catch it. So I feel this inertia, which is the swinging out. My hands almost feel like they're tapping 2 inches further, like to the length of my finger, and then I'm sliding off here. So I'm letting this weight die. It slides out further, the length of my finger, and then I snap down out of that, rock through. That's why if you guys picture that the arm or the let out in your mind is longer than it actually is, you'll melt into the chest pad more because you'll be forced to lean harder into the chest pad to feel that slowing down or that dissipating of movement to be able to pull again. That will melt you into here, which will give you leverage to pull. But if you don't allow that to happen, we see everything, guys and girls get themselves in these spots and they're like, it's just this like arm pull. The back never opens, so the back can't ever pull. It's like a sickness in the sense that like this is like foundational shit. Like think of any sport where like you're taught foundational stuff, like boxing could be like your footwork, and like baseball it could be like a pitcher's like how they start like they're leaning back against the fucking whatever, the mound, the fucking stopper, or what the fuck is that called?
The mound.
No, the thing though. Anyway, whatever. Someone will fucking tell me. But anyway, it's the foundations of movement, right? Like it's like a football player, a linebacker, like in this stance here, understanding that my weight is a bit forward so that I'm able to step immediately. When the play starts, I don't step back, or I don't hesitate and go, I'm ready to move in whatever direction I'm going to move because I'm light on my feet and I'm light here. I'm moving. So whatever my reaction is, I go that way right away. There's no hesitation, right? This is like foundational shit that people aren't being taught. So if you guys want to reintroduce things like this into your workouts or understand how to feel tension better or understand tempo, lighten the weight 100% because you're all lifting too heavy. Because I train a shit ton of people that come here, they all fucking get buried under leg presses that have a plate on them or 2 plates on them. But meanwhile, they probably fucking put 5 or 6 aside on their life and fucking grunted that thing out, but their legs don't fucking work the day after. Or they've come and done back, and they've done back with very lightweight. This is 80 pounds. And their back actually moved and worked. And the next day they're like, oh my God, my back's sore. My back's never been sore in my life. It's yeah, because you're fucking moving it. It's actually doing something. If that doesn't compute in your brain that, oh, I'm doing something wrong here. Where did I put my drink? Oh. If I'm doing something wrong here, like I should be feeling these things, right? Like it's like you wouldn't go to a batting cage and miss the fucking ball every time and think that you're doing a good job. You'd be like, I want to hit the ball. So like every time I go, I'm like, bink, like, bink, it just hits the fuck. I'm like, what the fuck, man? How do I hit this thing? And then, oh, you nick it, and you're like, oh, I'm getting closer. Like, you ting, and it goes flying off. But like, no, every time I want to make contact, bang, bang, every big bang. Think about it that way. Like, that's the stupidity. You're coming in every day, just letting like pitches go by you. Like, it's not connecting. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to give sports analogies to people because I don't like. It's sad because I don't think a lot of people who do work out, who just work out, have been very athletic in their life. So they don't have this foundation of like understanding sports and movement and like just basic parallels between things of how the body should move and how the body should react. And like, it's like, that's what I'm telling people all the time. Stiffness is not a thing you want to be. Tension, yes. Tempo, yes. Control, but not stiffness. It's like stiffness for stiffness sake. Like, it's like I trained a couple new people that have started training with me, and it's the same thing with them. They're so used to like someone told them, they don't know who, and it's always the case. It's just this like rhetoric that's passed down. But someone's told them that they get here and they go, and like by the time they even start the movement, I'm a statue. I'm literally frozen in time. Like I'm staring at fucking Medusa up there. I'm like, and it's like you tell them let your arm out. They're like, it's like, let the fucking arm, like your arm moves. I'm doing. Look at this. I'm doing right now. I'm talking to you, but I'm moving my arm. I'm not going with my arm. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about, man? It's like just, it's 80 pounds. This is 60 pounds. So even if I pick up 150 pounds because I'm some strong motherfucker, obviously you're probably doing it because you're strong enough to do it. Just set this fucking thing into areas that like lock down. I'm in my lat. I'm set down on my shoulder. I always feel pressure on my shoulder. I'm never up here. I'm always here. There's always someone pushing down on me. I'm always set back in my neck or wherever it is. My chin's down, my head's back, my head's up, my chin's back. Whatever it is that creates tension for me, because I can find tension in other ways. I could be here and I can find tension and I can still pull. The same way as if I put my head here and I can pull. Same way as if I put my head here and I can pull. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So it's like, we'll show it a leg example too. I'll show an inertia thing on legs. Just fill up every stack on every weight tree of the machine. Yeah. It'll be good. No one will ever need a plate again. So this idea of inertia, someone's gonna correct me for sure. This is what I envision to be inertia. I understand what inertia is, like accepting of tension and pushing back up through things, like trampoline style. If you guys can't envision inertia, if you're like thinking, what the fuck's this guy talking about? Watch someone jump on a trampoline. Or watch something hit a trampoline, like someone drops a bowling ball. The bowling ball hits, and in slow motion, that bowling ball is suspended while the trampoline goes down and then catches up with the bowling ball or the person. You don't go like all the way down and go, it's a recoil of like pushing you back up, right? So it's like, think about that with weight. Like if I think now it's even more visual, if I'm on my feet, and I imagine that this is like a porous, like a buoyant surface. This is a hard pad obviously, but I want to feel like like we've talked about before, when I get to the bottom of this, my foot is here, but I want to feel like my foot sinks into the pad this deep. So once I feel that I've put weight into this pad properly and I've got to the bottom of the rep, because I can't explain this while I'm doing it, it'll look absolutely insane. The weight goes in here, so all my weight's coming down, I melt into here. I want to feel like this transfers out here, and then I catch off and fire. But that transfer out here and sitting is controlled on my hip and my glute and my feet. Because obviously I'm not sinking in. But I want to feel that tension and that weight from up top settle, stop moving, or at least come to a point where it slows to like, it almost, if it was like in a close, it slows to about here, and then I'm off, back out. So I don't want to do what people do naturally. You'll see beginners, this is more of a beginner thing. It's not really talking to like people who are advanced or good lifters. So if I come up here and I sit down, is this thing stuck? Anyway, it's stuck on the plate. So if I come down here and I sit into this depth, I sit here. Most people can't sit here because one, when they sit, I'm going to take this off because it's hitting this fucking thing. So they sit, the idea is when you sit down in a squat, I'm kicking my hip all the time. Even if I was on the pad, I'm literally doing this. I'm kicking my hip back into here. But since I'm rigid on here, you don't see the movement back in my hip. But this kick in my hip of pushing back into here when I sit down creates drop into my hip immediately. And then I melt into my feet and I sit here. And then I collect that weight and I drive off. So I'm not trying to be here and get this body to go onto those feet real quick and then go, ah! You can see the difference in that. I'm trying to go down and I go, ooh! Like I can do that all day. Anybody can. That's why people can load 6, 7 plates on here and they put their feet nice and tight and they get their knees in there and they're just, oh! I'm like, yeah, my legs, I felt something happen. But I just had to get the fuck back up here because I was terrified down there. The idea is to be loose down here. So when I sit this hip, I sit here and I kick that knee. Now I'm off. I'm sitting in my glutes. I'm sitting in my hip. So now I can fold into here. Even if I stayed here and I didn't hold on, I can fold into here. And I can press. The idea of this isn't to be like, holy fuck, like you're on a roller coaster. Take this thing down and sit down. I'm just loose here. Wherever I want to be here and I sit into my hip and drive off. That's why it doesn't need to be 8 to 10 plates unless you know how to control. You're a motherfucker with 30-inch quads. Yeah, do 8 or 10 plates on the side and sit just like that. But feel this relaxed and feel when you get to the bottom that the speed may be a little, the tempo might be a little like quick, fold. So we unhinge from hip, we unhinge from knee when we kick that knee and we set that hip. And then I kick up, so I kick knee, boom, and I sit. So whenever I'm sitting on stuff, the reason why I can fall so effortlessly is because I'm not holding my knee in like basically this tension point where it won't move. So like we said here, I kick here. So if you have to cue yourself and you're by yourself, literally put your hands in your hips. Wait till you can feel that squish. Wait till you feel this sandwich your hand. Now my knees are out. Now I think to myself, am I still holding too much weight here? Okay, well then transfer some to my feet. Think about being more on feet. So I could pump here, and I know that now I'm on my feet. I'm a lot looser up top. Now all I do is just keep sinking this hip back into this bench behind and sitting down into the depth. And then press off. So it's a folding. Everything with legs is a collapsing. So we hit a pressure point out, we kick that hip, we kick that knee, the knee slides up more, the hip falls down. We flatten your knee out. But like we said, you collect down here, feel it push through here, shove out. I catch through here, I resist, push back out. So if you start thinking in terms of movement like that movement pathways are longer than they actually are, you're visioning in your mind like this feeling of like things like absorbing you and letting you go, things like taking you and pushing you off, you'll connect with weight 1,000,000 times better. You won't need to obsess about weight. Weight will just have to go up regardless. Like, you're not gonna do 25 pounds a side. It's just gonna be like, oh, now I can do that with 2 plates. Now I can do it with 3 plates. You know what I mean?